that we're entering a new regime. And I think everybody who practices immigration law realize that Trump is a big factor. But I think there are other factors that are not Trump that are at play. And I am here to talk about those things and maybe engage you or your audience about these things. Of course, the easy thing is to say Trump obviously and his people, Stephen Miller, etc., have done all kinds of things to discourage immigration on all kinds of fronts and even in employment-based immigration. But if you think about the traditional track, one big way in which employment based immigration went forward is people would come here as international students. They would potentially get H 1Bs. They would get sponsored for green cards. And that was a track that was used by thousands of people successfully for the last 25 years. Now, Trump has obviously discouraged F1 student visas, discouraged H 1Bs, created this $100,000 fee, which I mean is complicated into how it's going to be implemented. But there's three categories that I think are three areas that are not Trump that are also potentially fundamentally changing at least employment based immigration. One area, one of the three other areas is just the quotas that we've known about and the slow processing. So obviously the H-1B cap has been around forever. The visa bulletin delays have been around for a long time, but have expanded to all countries in EB2 and EB3. And it doesn't seem like there's any end in sight. And labor certification processing is extremely slow, but those things have nothing to do with Trump. The visa bulletin, that wasn't Trump. The slow processing, that was actually more Biden than anything. So processing a PERM. So that's a big factor. I think people are very discouraged about getting an H-1B or even trying to wait for their priority date to be current. So I think that's not a Trump thing. That's just a thing that's in immigration law, and it's finally caught up to us that they've not reformed the system, and so many people are waiting. And then the third thing, so you got Trump, you've got the system itself, and then the third thing is the economy. I think that we've seen this rolling recession for white collar workers that started in about 2022. I think people forget that one of the famous things was when Elon Musk bought Twitter and fired like everyone at Twitter. That thing still runs, Twitter still runs. And so I feel like that was the beginning of all of the big companies basically going through and laying people off in large numbers, including lots of H-1B workers. And then you add in now whatever role AI is playing. And I think there's a argument that a big part of employment-based immigration in the 21st century was essentially American companies bringing in foreign workers to do math because Americans aren't very interested in doing math. But if AI can do the math now, then maybe they don't really need the foreign workers anymore. And we're seeing, of course, even American college graduates, including computer science graduates and other fields that you'd think people would get hired, they're having a hard time getting a job. And again, that maybe that's Trump, maybe the tariffs and some of his, but I think it was starting during the Biden administration that the economy itself doesn't need as many foreign workers seemingly, and so that affects the macro of employment based immigration. And then the last one, the one that has really come up in the last year or two, and you may have seen this, you follow these things, but there's a lot of competition with all these platforms and all these kind of AI enabled tools and pseudo law firms and Reddit and all these